Hi, I'm Dale Johnson, doing business as Old World Stone Carving according to the IRS. Basically, I am an artist, a stone carver. I've been doing it professionally since 1991. I've done everything from fireplaces to fountains to sculptures to marquees to paintings to whatever. I've had a wonderful time. It's been fantastic. If you want to see some of the stuff, check out the website, www.oldworldstonecarving.com. There's lots there for you to see. This particular piece is a project I'm working on for an integrative all-life center with everything from massage therapy to physical therapy to radiology. It's an alternative medical thing, including the arts and dance. It's an attempt to cross disciplines in a creative way in Columbus, Ohio. And it's a beautiful place, beautiful grounds, pond, wonderful old farmhouse, fully restored, large, enlarged. And this piece is the focal piece for the entry. They didn't want to have a sign. They didn't want to have anything like that. They wanted to have something that indicated the character of the project. So since it's the Integrated All Life Center, I was commissioned to produce a sculpture that would bring all those ideas together. And so the piece that I've come up with, it's not really about people, it's about interaction, it's about all the different ways that people interact. I've been using and referring throughout the piece to the human form, but not really bringing it in. It's not about any particular type or group or specificity of personhood. It's just about the coagulation of souls coming together to do good things, really. And the piece is going to be mounted on a big ball bearing so that it rotates. I'm working with engineers to figure out if we can actually find a ball bearing fluid enough that it'll move in the wind. But if not, we're going to be able to just grab it and rotate it, interact with it, so that wherever you see it, every time you see it, hopefully it's a different view, a different space. I've been trying to bring the light into the stones. The thing about the stone that really draws me more than, well, lots of things draw me to it, but one of the things that draws me to stone is that it's all form, which is defined by shadow and light. There's no color, there's no beauty it's not marble, it's not shiny glass. It's all about the form. It's about the content. It's about the human interaction with that stone that caused that form to be. So stone for me, since it's so hard to work, since it has the history that goes back to the earliest stages of man, to be able to really manipulate it in the 21st century in a commissioned way, to use the history of it to help bring a sense of space and place to this medical complex. I mean, what an honor. And I've tried to bring the light inside the stone in this case by going through and into it, so that the sculpture really is about the space between us all more than it is about any of us. The textural aspect, the nature of it, having looked like it was drawn, I mean, clearly somebody actually did this, and who encounters anything like this in their ordinary life? And the idea is that this is an awesome thing that is, an epic effort on somebody's part, mine, and it's a gift. And when I'm dead, it'll last for another couple hundred years or more, who knows, and it's a gift that I and the funder and the center give to the future. And that's kind of what art is. And I'm super grateful to have been able to do it for pushing 30 years, for cities and universities, residences, parks, all kinds of places. It's been a wonderful life, and thanks. And if I happen to encounter you along the way, and if I can help you out doing whatever it is you want to get done, it's a good thing. Call me. Good? Watch out, bud. I've used the pitching tool, which is a broad, flat chisel, held just right, takes a while to learn, and a hammer, and removed several big flakes, which is a good start. Now I've drilled a series of holes very close together, and all equally deep. I'm going to use a chisel that was actually, see how it's got 4 teeth? It's actually designed for removing mortar between brick joints, but it works wonderfully to break out the web and cut a slot. Thing about stone, you see what I just did was I knocked off an edge, which stone likes, but stone doesn't like to be dug into. If I was to just take a chisel, I'll show you. See what I just did? Those few strokes, wham, 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 no problem. But if I'm going to remove all this so I don't care, but if I was to try and dig, hard as I can hit, I got nothing. The whole point of removing stone is to scrape off the edges. You don't dig. Now a drill digs. And once I get this slot cut, I've got edges I can knock off. I'll show you how that works. This tool was invented sometime in the late 19th century and has been unchanged ever since. They come with a lifetime warranty. Same company, same family's been making them in New England ever since. One of the first industrial tools after steam power came is the pneumatic air hammer. Look at all the buildings all around the world. They were all carved with this device or a smaller one or a smaller one or a bigger one. So it's a jackhammer. When I plug it in, there's a piston inside that's going to go back and forth. And I'm going to use a chisel. Well, actually, I'm going to use this chisel. When I put it in there, that piston's going to start beating on that chisel pretty hard. This is a big, relatively big one. This is a 1-inch. So here we go. So now I've dropped this slot. I'm going to take the pitch tool. There's a funny story about this. I learned from an Italian guy, and he said, "Get the pitching dune, do it the pitching dune." He kept telling it the pitching dune. And so I finally got a job, you know, that wasn't with an Italian guy, and they wanted me to do something, and I was like, "Well, where's your pitching dune?" And they were like, "Pitching dune? What's a pitching dune?" And I'm like, you know, and I finally found it, and I held on, "This thing is a pitching dune." And they're like, "That's a pitching tool." There you go. So I got my pitching dune. Like I said, I can knock off the edges pretty quick, but digging's not so easy. I've opened it up enough where I can do this again, but I'm not going to because this is a demonstration. So the next tool, imagine I do this one more time and I get it, you know, a little bit deeper. We're not going to bother. I'm going to get down and I'm going to... The next step is hard. Got my trusty 28-pound whacker. So I've done what I can, more or less. I could push it a little bit further with that thing, and I probably would. But this is a demo. You get the idea. The next step would be to refine that. I'm going to go back to this guy. But I'm not going to use that burly chisel. I'm going to use a small chisel, 1/4 inch flat chisel. You'll see how I've got lines, parallel lines, like I'm drawing with the chisel, which is exactly what I'm doing. Those lines are called droves, which I think is fascinating. You know, like droves. I mean, what's the cliche about droves? Whatever it is, coming off in droves. That's the cliche. Because when you do this, you're allowing the stone to break in a natural way with the least amount of effort. If I used a larger chisel, the stone's going to be more resistant. So the smaller chisel is actually a lot faster. Personally, by using, you know, in this case, for this particular type of work, one chisel for the entire finish, I know where I call it step one. You know, I mean, I've composed it more or less. I've laid out the chords, but I haven't put in any of the melody. So when I come back in with other chisels, which I'll demonstrate in a minute, that would be putting in the melody. But using this chisel and this heavy-duty hammer, I'm establishing the structure, the composition. And when I come back in, I'll know where I've already done and where I haven't. So it's a planning process. But this chisel works like this. This is incredibly hard work, and you do it all day, every day. So you figure out the easiest way to get it done. And the old-fashioned chisel, once you've got a cliff established, then you saw how long it took with the air hammer to do that. this one boom. So it still comes down to knowing what the stone's going to react to as easily as possible. The goal is to do it till you die. So you do it the easy way, if possible. There's something else I want to show you. I have a secret weapon. I have long chisels. Now the thing is, when I go through someplace, I've got a straight line this long, right? And it doesn't work this way, and it doesn't work this way. It has to be at an angle of about that. And at that angle, I can knock it off. So I can only go through until my angle starts to change because the edges are hitting the stone, you see? I can't do that. Getting deep like that, all the way through, I'm trying to bring light into the sculpture, inside the sculpture. The droves that I've put in here and the techniques that I've been using have been all about composing the shapes and the structures and getting a balance of the overall piece. I've got most of my mass in the base. It gets lighter as I go up. I can get more porous with the pieces, the less weight they have to support. So I've been engineering the piece as I go, so that when I get to the top, I'll have the most amount of space there in order to get a feeling of lightness to the piece. In this case, because of the scale, the droves are really important to me, and they're going to be the finished texture. I want it to act like a drawing in three-dimensional space. But if I wanted to refine it, I would use smaller air hammers and entirely different chisels. I have my chisels handmade by a blacksmith in Indiana. Probably one of the last guys doing it. They're carbide steel. A good one will last you several years. The one you use the most, maybe a couple months. And if you use granite or sandstone, a couple days. And they run from, $30 to $100. So with the smaller hammer, I could put in any kind of detail that I want, which, like I said, I'm not going to. Big piece needs burly. So there you go. That's how it's done. Thanks for watching.